Well, at this point, you've heard Kato, and you've heard about Gus. But, you know what they say. Last is not always least, and in fact, you save the best for last, and that is what we've done here. Take that, Devin and Shane. Hi, Abon.
Hi, Dwayne. What's up?
Are you ready to make an emotional bond with a character that may or may not survive?
Yeah, I'll be sad, but it's happening. And
Okay,
I'm going to
good,
love her, and then if she dies...
Okay, great, because let me tell you, you don't necessarily have a guarantee to make it out of your own backstory. Just so you know.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Well,
right,
let's hope I get through it.
What a weird threat to give somebody, hey, this is your backstory, you may not make it. Hey, why don't you talk about Darling? Why don't you tell us about her?
Ooh, Darling Derringer. She is a whole lot of fun. She is going to be a foxfolk. On the short end, for sure. Maybe like 5'2" at best. She won't be real cute, little soft and plump. She has short blue hair with kind of like white underneath tones. I think that's where. Yeah, that's close enough. And a long blue tail with the little white at the ends. She's got cute little fox ears as well. And she normally dresses with like adventuring gear for sure, but her preferred thing is kind of like a crop top look, but she just chopped off a poet shirt. It's still long sleeves underneath. And probably a signature leather jacket as well. But it's got a little white fluff just to be a little more different.
Yeah, a little different from old Daddy Dearest.
Yeah, just a little bit.
That's fair. There's some cues in there. What about your class and your subclass? What are we doing?
My class? I'm going to be playing a bard this time around. I think it's going to be fun, a little bit different from B for sure. And I'm going to do a homebrewed subclass with the College of Botany. So a little more plant-based. Maybe more Wen-inspired. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that should be interesting. Wen is known for being chaotic at best. For two things. One, I love Darling. She tiny little thing in my mind. Like, I understand that she's a normal sized person, but I just, after like writing and reading, it's like this tiny little thing. And I love.
I mean, compared to her brothers.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I love that you called your race Fox Folk. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
I love that. Way better than Kitsune. So Fox Folk it will be.
I wanted to do a little, like, disjointed from what real life is.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Fox Folk, and so that is canon in Goron now. I won't call it anything else unless it's for flavor. So thank you for cementing that into the world. Because I'm just gonna erase where it says Kitsune, and I'm gonna say Fox Folk and move on with our one shot. Perfect. Well, she is a beautiful... No, that question's for later. That's fine. Let's get right into it. So we see the visage of an older Derringer. The same brown fedora-styled hat. Walking at his side is a young Gus. The two come upon a wagon, and the wagon is tipped on its side. The smell of smoke fills the air, and Declan sees flames begin to sputter to life. Declan says, Gus, check the surroundings for survivors or enemies. If it's hostile, do not engage. Gus nods and shifts into a white-black colored owl and takes flight. Declan rushes to the wagon and finds that there's no one inside. He looks around and surveys the area. He sees a scuffling of footprints in the ground. He can tell there was a commotion. He can tell that whoever stood here did not give in easily and did not go willing. Declan says, what kind of fight happened here? As he looks around the wagon, the fire begins to grow, and that's when he hears the small, meek cry of a baby. Declan begins to rummage through the wagon. He rushes. He's tossing out masks, costumes, makeup boxes, and more as he frantically looks for the sound of this baby. As it begins to cry, smoke fills his lungs. He coughs and takes deep, long, soot-filled breaths as he continues to tear this wagon apart, looking for the sound of the small child. Declan finds a small side table wedged in by a cot, clearly stuck from the disarray. He yanks and pulls at the drawer, and he opens it to find a small baby wrapped in a blanket. He pulls this bundle of joy from the wagon as the flames begin to consume it. He leaps out of the wagon, almost rolling to the ground, pulling this small child to his chest, doing everything he can to protect her. He coughs, and he gets to his feet, and he very gingerly opens the blanket to see tiny little fox ears pop open and amber eyes. And Declan says, well, what do we have here? Gus returns and gives Declan a shake of the head. Well, if no one is around to care for you, I suppose we will. At least until we find your parents. Aren't you adorable? Declan says as he nuzzles the small infant with his nose. Gus, go ahead back home. Tell Kato of our new guests. The years pass. The sun sets and the moon rises, and Goron spins, and the world turns. And we find ourselves where we often find Darling. In the woods, behind the Derringer estate, just past the ginger root orchard. We see young, pre-teenish Darling on her own once again playing. What does preteen Darling look like? Like attire? Is she full of spunk and attitude? Is she reserved or meek? Tell me about preteen Darling.
I still think she's still small, right? But that scrangly, skinny small. Full of spunk, like clothes all messy, ready to roll around outside, but come on, we're in the Derringer estate. She's probably got lots of little pretty dresses. Like frilly and bows and all that stuff. Lace, whatever. Just the whole 9 yards of real heckin' cute. But it's definitely not a dress that you see proper company in. This is definitely one she runs around in and probably has a few tears in.
Like a play dress, like a yard dress.
Oh yeah.
What is it that Darling is doing, or what game is she playing off in the woods all alone?
I like to think she pretends to hunt out in the woods. Just kind of like set little bunny traps or see if she can find deer tracks. Just what interesting things come under the rocks. Be the adventurer and explorer she wants to be, but in the safety of her backyard.
This is an important question, and this will be the DM remembers this. When you set these traps, is it catch and release, or do you set these traps to kill?
It's catch and release.
Excellent. Good to know. And so you're playing your game in this woods, you're frolicking and enjoying being alone, away from the brothers and sisters and the noise of the Derringer estate. And while the Derringer estate is never a terrible place to be, the one thing that is hard to find is solitude and quiet. And often, Darling finds herself alone in the woods to find just that. Solitude and quiet. Unfortunately, her playtime is interrupted, and you see the visage of a young half-orc and a young elf come into view and almost surprise her, and you hear this orc start in on her. "Oh, look, if it isn't our little darling. Out here all alone again. It's a shame no one wants to play with you, given your defects."
I have defects.
Well, I'm not saying Wen makes mistakes, given he makes tree people, but I'm not sure if he was just making a fox or making a person and got bored somewhere in between.
Well, how do you know you're not the mistake? Look at you. Those little pokey teeth.
Well, I'll have you know these teeth are for biting and snashing, and half-orcs are powerful.
Yeah, and I have teeth. Look at these claws.
I've seen scarier things on those hares that you hunt.
Uh-huh. Just wait until I gather my rabbit army, and then you're going to be gone.
I've not been scared of much, but a rabbit army doesn't change that. That's the weirdest threat I've heard today. I got off guard by that, honestly.
Oh, they could be quite vicious if you let them be. Look at those little teeth. And those eyeballs, they're so mean. Look at them.
Oh, ferocious, I'm sure. That at least they know what they are. One thing, as it were. It's not my fault that your family was a bunch of half-bloods.
My family's not a whole bunch of half-bloods. They have all of the blood. You leave them out.
Do they, though?
I feel like she kind of like... her hair's all prickle up and they're all blue and it's just so angry and frustrated, and this kid is just, what the heck are they? And then I feel like with all of that rage that she's got in her little tiny body, she explodes and turns into a little fox. Like an actual fox. Like full-on, full-bodied blue fox.
I knew there was something wrong with you.
She growls.
Don't growl at me, and he kicks at you.
Oh, she's gonna go and bite him.
Roll me a dexterity saving throw. We're not gonna do like attack rolls against a child's AC. Just do a dexterity saving throw.
An 11.
Yeah, that's good enough. You're being kicked at by a child. So he kicks and you're swift enough to be able to like leap out of the way. What do you do next?
I think she's going to fight him. She's got teeth, she's got claws. Okay. This guy's insulting her family and she loves them. Fuck this guy.
Okay.
Heck this guy up.
Yeah, this other child. Attack. What do you want to do? You want to attack?
Yeah, I'm attacking.
Yeah, roll an attack.
Give me a second. I need to find the little sheet that tells me how to be a fox.
For the sake of continuity and expedition, just do a melee attack.
Yeah,
This
sure.
isn't gonna break down into you taking him down and knocking him unconscious and bleeding him out, so...
How's an 11?
It's successful. Again, child. Both of you children. Tell me what your attack looks like. Are you jumping up and clawing? Is it biting? Is it gnashing? What's the strategy
This is
here?
like jumping up and clawing, trying to like grab hold with little fox teeth in his shoulder, just like rip up his clothes. As much as she can pull off of this guy.
And you do.
Hate
You
it.
leap up and you kind of get up on his shoulder and you're clawing and tearing. And help! And you see this young elf run over and just grab you by the tail. Do an athletics check for me, please.
How's a 19?
Pretty darn good, but we're gonna see what that compares against. Pretty darn good. So the elf grabs your tail and yanks, and the fucking pain that comes with having your tail pulled. However, you don't let it grip, and so basically the elf just pulls you down this half-orc's arm, and you just make this long red stretch of like blood and pain. And the orc yells out, "Oh, fucking mangy!" And he like shakes, and eventually he's able to shake you free and toss you. And the orc, this half-orc, Bell, starts to kind of like sob. I'm telling, and runs. And you see
She'll do that like
Go ahead.
chase after run, and like with the little yips foxes make, just like growls and snarls. But like she won't cross a line at some point. But she'll let him run
enough
away.
of a chase to
Yeah.
run him off. Love that. And you
This
see
is my territory. Back off.
the female elf that was with the orc. Fair enough. And she bolts. Yeah, you've defeated your combat scenario. Yeah, so
I survived.
we see a darling here in the woods, in the seclusion of her own imagination, but now a fox. How is Darling handling that?
Actually, this is pretty cool. This feels awesome. She's gonna run around, do little zoomies.
This is the first time Darling's ever turned into a fox, yeah?
Yeah, she's not sure what's happening. This is all really cool. Like I can run and jump and probably chase after those little rabbits. I won't kill them, but oh man, is this fun? I think after she's had her fill, she'll like happily strut back home. Still in fox form. She hasn't figured out how to undo it yet, but this is fine.
And so we watch as a young fox form Darling runs around the woods and makes rabbits, hares, perhaps small birds her playthings. Never killing, never maiming, just putting the fear of the fox folk in them. And we see this beautiful little fox almost prancing home. Are you able to remove form, or do you go into this home in form?
I think once you found the problem of the door, she turns back. It's like, this is a problem. I need to be the bigger me.
And it's not until you've been met with the brutal obstacle that is the door handle that you're able to transform. I like that. We flash forward just a small bit. Later that night, when our Darling is tucked into bed, do me a favor, Darling. Describe your childhood room.
I think it's very fun in there. I think it's painted bright blue. She asked for pictures of the clouds on the wall. So some of it's in frames and with like scenic whatevers, but like some of it actually drawn on the wall. She's got like little strings of various like butterflies or bugs kind of going throughout the ceiling, or even little danglies of paper cranes or whatever she could get her hands on, or even kid made. It's going to be like the little like clothespin papers coming out for your butterflies. And then all her other things are kind of like in soft blues, and just kind of like a fun child's playroom vibe. For some treasures from outside, like various cool flowers or sticks. Maybe a rock that looked like somebody's face.
Very innocent, as all young rooms are. And as Darlin is tucked into bed, we see Declan sitting in a chair, and draped across the back of this rocking chair is a soft, rosy red baby blanket draped across. Something that Declan couldn't quite part with and couldn't quite let Darling part with. Declan sits in this chair beside her with a moss-colored book in his hands, and the binding reads, "The Wonders of When." Declan says to his small darling, "Before we read a story tonight, we need to talk about what happened today with Boston and Twixie."
Nothing to talk about.
I saw Boston, and Twixie had quite the scare. What happened?
They were making fun of me and the family. They weren't being very nice.
And he looks at you to go on.
I bit him and I scratched him. And she does a little small smile. I turned into a fox.
And you see Declan have what can only be a mix of frustration and pride, which all parents are familiar with the feeling of excitement, but still the requirement of fulfilling the parent role, even when joy approaches. And he says, That is wonderful. I'm so proud of you. I wasn't sure when the day would come that you would be able to embrace your roots. But darling, violence wasn't the answer there. I know he used terrible words, but don't let Boston stoop you down to his level and win with experience. Don't be so hot-headed.
Well, how do I put cold on my head?
Deep breaths. Always deep breaths. But I'm impressed. You managed to turn into a fox and return all on the same day. That's impressive. Some little foxlings spend days in their transformation their first time. And he kind of ruffles her hair a little bit.
Well, the door was the problem. How was I supposed to get inside the house?
You make a very valid point, my love. Anyways.
Oh, you're gonna have to put in a tiny door for me if I can't go back? Is this gonna be a problem?
We'll crack a window. And he opens the Wonders of Wen and flips to your page. Now, where were we? And our vision drifts off, and we watch as Declan resumes reading to Darling. And we can only hear the muffled words, but we can see Darling, her eyes glued to Declan as he begins the story anew. Years come and years go, and it is only the ravage of time that can explain what impact youth can have in the absence of one's father during this time. While Declan was there when Darling was young, his adventures eventually called him away. We shift into a scene of the Derringer Manor, well kept, lively. Still plenty of people there. Brothers, sisters. Cato was gone. Gus was gone. And we see our Darling. Barely 16 years of age. And she's putting things in a bag. She appears to be packing. What's one thing you make sure you pack? For sure.
For sentimental value, it would be The Wonders of Wen, for sure. That book is going in that bag. And then the blanket that Dad still kept around. And then, of course, like clothes and other various things you'll probably need while out there. She's seen Declan pack many things on their adventures, as well as Cato and whoever.
And she's helped, I think. She's helped pack and help arrange things when Declan was going.
Yeah, and she's just, like, stuffing it all in there. Like, it's not even orderly or anything. It's like she's determined to go, and nobody in this house is going to stop her. She'll look around at her room. Still similar in nature, like maybe a little less youngish. More books, more papers, journals, other fun things on the wall. Papers, pens, things for crafting, lots of maps, just all sorts of things. She'll look around. She'll like throw her bag over her shoulder, make sure she's got her leather jacket on with the little floof, and then leave. She peeks out the door though to make sure no one's around.
Yeah, I was going to say, does she leave in the night? And does she tell anyone that she's leaving?
No, she does not. It will be more in the night, and I bet there are some night owls in the family.
But I don't think the kids like pay much attention, right? You've got a bag or two, and it's not uncommon for you to go out. It's not uncommon for you to take a bag. I don't think anyone in the Derringer estate expected this to be your last night there.
No, she didn't tell anyone. And she just leaves, walks out the door, like she was doing her normal day anywhere else.
Alright. And so she travels. And she travels for what feels like a long time until she sets up camp. What does setting up camp for her look like on that first night? And how does that spiel for her.
I feel like she tried the whole tent and a stick thing. And sure, it's alright. But it was late and she was tired. So she kind of just like vaguely puts it up. Decides, it's okay, it's too small. I didn't do a great job. So she's just gonna curl up in fox form and just kind of sleep in there.
And so as you're...
She'll make sure her head is poking out so she can see the outside.
And before you go to sleep, and before you curl up, and before you're getting cozy for bed, you're unpacking things, right? You're getting your tent, your rations, and you find in your bag a small parcel. And when you open it, you find a small envelope. You find a small envelope, not a parcel, like a thick envelope in your bag with your name on it in Declan's handwriting. And inside the envelope, there's a small piece of paper folded in half and a small message. And that message reads, "Darling, I understand why you left. But I want you to remember, if ever you get lost, go Hearthbound." And inside the envelope is a necklace with a golden coin on it. The coin is made up of 2 rings, the main coin with the Derringer family crest on it, and the second with a thin outer ring that's plain except for one arrow pointing away from the crest. And the outer ring kind of spins freely. The other thing that you notice as you're unpacking your bag, and you just open the Wonders of Wind, there's an inscription that wasn't there the day before. Or at least the last time you read it. And the inscription inside the cover of the Wonders of Wind reads, "Darling, I'm proud of who you've become. I hope these stories remind you that anything is possible, and of the time we spent together sharing laughter and tears over them. I'll always be here for you, even if I've been more absent of late. I love you. Proudly, Dad."
I think Darling would have affectionately called him Toddy.
Excuse me.
I feel like maybe that's
Proudly,
how he signed it.
Your Toddy.
Thank you. However, she's not in a mood for sentiments. So
Fair enough.
that letter gets all crumpled up and stuffed back in her bag. She'll stare at the book for a minute and then also stuff that back in her bag. She wasn't in the mood for that. And just stare up at the stars.
And she does. And sleep finds you. The days go by, and we watch our young darling grow into a young woman, passing from city to city, from forest to forest, river to river, and the years go on. It isn't until Darling really finds her footing when she decides to join a traveling troupe. Darling finds herself upon one of the most amazing troops she's ever seen. 6 wagons or more, full of fire eaters and sword dancers and playmakers and music writers and poets. It is the epitome of a circus on wheels, and the name of this troupe, which Darling will affectionately refer to, is the Asylum of Style.
Beautiful.
Tell me what it was like for Darling to find home in a traveling troupe.
I think she appreciated the noise the most. Lots of music, lots of dancing, lots of every bit of chatter. It was exciting for sure to be with a bunch of creative people. I feel like she lit up much more than before. More
She
at
blossomed,
home.
so to speak.
Blossom, so to speak. Yeah.
So, as all troops do, and Darling is greeted and welcomed wondrously. One, Foxfolk are wonderful attractions and wonderful assets to the set, to all plays, and I think Darling takes and joins in where she can. She does plays, I think, joins in a music.
Yeah.
But what is Darling's performance that she's known for? As she really starts joining the Asylum of Style, what is it that they start headlining her for? They start advertising for her attraction when they come into towns.
I think her headline would be along the lines of her and her dancing, as well as her storytelling during the dances. Like, when she does it, it feels like the stories come to life. Most of her inspirations coming from her little book of Wen, and retellings of them. Some of them altered for fun or anything else of the sort. Other stories you hear in different areas, picking up some of their folklore and legends in that city. Like, oh no, maybe there's a local ghost here that steals cows. Well, here, one of her stories has something similar. How convenient.
I love that. I love that very much. The idea of storytelling and dancing together. And so the years pass. And I think she's with the Asylum of Style for a while. And I think the most important piece to know here is that not only is it that when you join the Asylum of Style, it was 6 or 7 wagons, it has doubled in size. You guys have become a name regionally. And most importantly, you got your own wagon. What does that look like? It's a single horse wagon, but what does it look like?
Oh man, it's decorated to all the nines she could possibly have. Because I bet she's had lovers who's gifted her things, as well as fans and whatnot. But there's like fancy drapery everywhere, in like reds and golds, a few purples and blues mixed in. It's definitely a fun sight to see. With I got magical little fairy lights to dress around it if I can.
Yeah.
Like bells and little things like wind chimes that make little sounds as it go by, and she makes sure that they all sound just right, so that it doesn't clash when they all wiggle around. Because sometimes you can get a cacophony of sounds, and that's not what she wants. She wants to sound airy and magical.
And so, Darling, you guys, the Asylum of Style has set up shop, has set up for a wonderful performance, and your troupe has been playing for the better part of a day, and you've joined in on music and poetry and the small performances that you do leading up to the grand show, leading up to the big play that happens that's followed by music and reverie, and then your act comes. What is Darling's stage name?
The Sapphire Muse.
That is wonderful, and I love it very much. And so this play has happened. The bands have played. The music has cheered. And this town has come to see you, the Sapphire Muse. Tell me the mood of the song, or of the dance and story that our Sapphire Muse tells to this town tonight.
I feel like it has to be a joyous one. A lot of things have been going on in the world lately. And even though tragedies are much more fun to tell and thrilling and exciting, she wants to add more happiness to the world than there is sadness and grief. And we're still getting over, like, the stuff of doors, I believe. So add a little happiness. Maybe this little town hasn't seen much in a while.
So an upbeat tempo?
Upbeat tempo. Fun, fast and fun. Easy to drag the crowd in, so, like, when she goes over to, like, pull somebody in to dance with her, because she'll do that, she'll mainly pick children to dance with her because they always have the most fun. But every once in a while, when there's a handsome stranger that catches her eye, she'll drag him in too. Hopefully one that doesn't have a lady attached to his arm, but we'll see. But that's the mood she's going for.
Roll me a performance check. As we sit and vibe to this beautiful music that Jen has put behind your performance.
Oh my god. It's a nat 20? So 27, please.
And so you do. The Sapphire Muse performs the way she always does. She brings life to the town. She brings happiness. She brings joy. But the Asylum of Style is known for one thing, and that is professionalism. And so while the party goes crazy and the energy levels are high, almost ecstasy-filled, the Asylum never lets it get too far, never lets it turn into brawling. It is always fun and good and perfect. But this party, this music, this feeling of euphoria that you've almost set forth rolls through the town. And uniquely and oddly enough, all of the garden around the stage that you guys have manufactured in this open area begins to bloom. Flowers that shouldn't be blooming for months, or maybe days, weeks, they begin to open up. They listen to your song, and they almost dance as you dance.
I was gonna say, she'll make it part of her act, pretend she's doing the magic to make it happen. She doesn't know how to explain it herself, but, you know, a few little words and whispers to a plant and some fancy hand motions can often give the illusion of this is definitely all planned. For sure.
And as all great things exist and are wonderful, the happy moments of the world are fleeting. As the story, as your show, comes to an end, the crowd cheers and stomps and begs for an encore. The question is, does the Sapphire Muse give them one?
Of course she will, but because it's the end of the show, end of the night, end of her turn of all the things, she'll settle down, more calming, and she keeps her book close at heart. I imagine maybe tucked underneath a fold of her dress piece that maybe flashes out. And it's her Book of When. And she'll whisper to all the kids, like, come here, and have them all gather around her. And she'll hold her book and tell us a little story. One of her favorite ones that Toddy always read.
If I may, Abon, there is a story that is very much in canon and lore in the Goron world, which is the story, and keeping in line with her upbeat vibe, but more calm as she begins to settle things down. When romances and courts Sinlor's daughter, Malieve, who is also the moon. And that, I imagine that could be a beautiful, lower tempo story for her.
Yes.
If you don't like it, that's fine. But it just seemed to fit.
Yeah. Totally. Romance and all that stuff, that can attract any of those little hot dudes she has been looking at this evening.
And so that's what you do. And with the 27, I will just roll that roll in. And so the Sapphire Muse goes out, and it's a slower dance, I think. It's more methodical, and you bring in the children in and almost teaching them the dance as you go. Mm-hmm. And it's this beautiful tale of love between two powerful beings that, like some and many great love stories, the odds are stacked against them, but together they find happiness, even if it's brief and fleeting. And your performance ends. And while the crowd is upset, they're understanding, and you see them all walk away with something they didn't come with. Happiness. Relaxation. The smell of euphoria on their very selves as they leave.
She loves it.
I was gonna say, how does she feel?
She loves it. She basks in it. She watches them, maybe like peek from behind like a little curtain set piece. Since she does have to go, she doesn't want to linger too much longer and be a distraction. These stories are great. And just watching everyone admire that and walk away with just a little piece extra more than they had before. Her tail swishes, like, almost happy like a dog would, kind of. It's fast. It's just... There's an awe-inspired feeling. She wants to do this more and continue her life this way. This feels like home. This is where she should be, kind of feeling.
And the days pass. Sunsets and night falls. And I think one night you come back to your wagon. Just before family dinner, the sound of music in the background, the smell of sweet meats and vegetables all being cooked together in this beautiful pot. And you know this music in the background, this song, and maybe it's a favorite of yours, but it's certainly one that you hear often within the Asylum of Style. You know it as the Whimsy of Win. And upon your desk, in your wagon, a worn letter sits with your name upon it. Dear darling.
I know we haven't spoken in a long while. I've failed to write. For that I'm sorry. I've kept up on your performances. I've heard all about your show and Yuri and the marvels you can do. While you've been gone, I've ventured onto my greatest exploration yet. I went to Agos. I've been there many years, but I've discovered something extraordinary, something dangerous. I've neglected to share this with anyone outside the Derringer family, for fear that it getting out could cause Goron's next calamity. Please make your way to Agos, and then Prenneth. Find your sister Vanessa at the Derringer Field Estate in Prenneth. Our family crest is on the front of the building. You can't miss it. Vanessa will tell you more once you get there. I'm afraid someone is onto my discovery and following me. Hurry, darling, with all the speed of the wind. Love, Toddy.
And that's where we're going to end the episode.
Oh man, I'm hyped.
Thank you so much for taking these tiny little nuggets and building them into this beautiful story. You did such a wonderful job. Thank you so much. It was way better than I ever could have imagined. All because of you.
Aw, thank you. Thank you for starting to create a story where I can join in.
Well, the next thing you all hear is the return to Goron. We love you.
We love you.
Bye.
Bye.